Everybody, what another amazing day this is, another amazing opportunity to share with you and I believe release some things to you that are going to be absolutely important and essential for your next level of success. Do me a favor first, make sure you hit the share button, call, text, tweet, inbox as many people as you can and tell them that they need to be tuned in right now. And if you have not subscribed yet to this channel, what are you waiting on? Take a moment, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you are alerted each and every time that new content is made available for you. Now, I want to talk about in this session something that is so very vital, in fact, more vital than most people realize, and that is being connected to the right people, having the right people in your life, having and maintaining the right connections. I tell people all the time that if ever you see me with anybody or in the company of anybody, just know that they are better than me in something. How tragic is it that people tend to surround themselves by people who have the same realities, same train of thought, same perspective, same ideology about life. When the reality of it is, as long as you're surrounded by the same people who have the same reality as you, there is very little window of opportunity for you to grow and to expand. Now, you have to have the right people around your life. I think it's critical that you and I become more selective and deliberate with more of a degree of scrutiny before we just give so easily before we so easily grant access to people in our lives. Because I am convinced that we do so we it's almost as if we are oblivious to the potential setbacks that the wrong connections and interactions can result in. There are a few results that you can expect when you are connected with the wrong individuals or you're in the company of people that are not essential for your elevation, for your growth, for the expansion of your perspective. When you're around the wrong people, they are counterproductive to your goals, ambitions, and life's pursuits. They generally tend to downplay them, minimize them, consider them as no big deal or nothing much. And whenever you get that notion or whenever they begin to express these sentiments to you, it's very clear at that juncture that you are definitely not surrounded by the right people. Because when you're surrounded by the right people, they are there to uplift you, push you, provoke you to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. And so when you have the wrong people, they are counterproductive to your goals, your ambitions, your life pursuits. Number two, they are consuming and not rewarding. These relationships or connections, they produce more anxiety than they provide advantage for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that whenever you are connected to anybody, it shouldn't be just a consuming relationship that's depleting you, that you leave them more depleted than you were before you got to them. Have you ever met anybody and you approach them with a great deal of zeal and vigor and energy, and by the time they got through talking to you and pulling on your spirit, pulling on you mentally, you left drained and feeling absolutely depleted? It's because if a connection is more consuming than it is rewarding, then it's absolutely the wrong connection. Whoever you're connected to and whoever you are with, they should not produce more anxiety. They should provide an advantage for you. And so you have to begin to evaluate your circle and your sphere of influence to make a determination as to whether or not I have the right connections around my life. Now, hear this. Sometimes these connections are often calculated. these wrong connections, they're often calculated. They connect with you intentionally to become disruptive to your progress, your motivation, and your enthusiasm. Now, these are all things that are necessary and required in order for you to obtain your preferred life and lifestyle. There are some people who are not mandated or essential or have been called to your life. And again, because we don't give a lot of scrutiny to the people we give access into our lives, quite often we open the door for people who are destructive and disruptive, and their intention is to ultimately derail you and I from reaching the place of our destiny. And sometimes you have to watch people who come into your life under the premise that, oh, we were meant to be together. It's just something that drew me to you. When the truth of the matter is, some connections have been calculated with the intent of disrupting and disturbing your progress, your motivation, and your enthusiasm. Not only do you know you're surrounded by the wrong people because they are, number one, they are counterproductive to your goals, ambitions, and life pursuits. Number two, they are consuming and not rewarding. In other words, they produce more anxiety than they ever provide advantage for you. Number three, sometimes these connections are often calculated. Their intent is to deflate you and to cause you to ditch the notion of you being or becoming anything more than you are. Number four, you know you have the wrong connections around you because hear this, they are really critical of you. Now that is quite an issue. Um, their objective is to find some kind of fault in you, despite them knowing how hard you're trying. Their conversations to you or towards you seem to be centered around what you're doing wrong, and it's never about what you're doing right. It's never laced with constructive critique that will build you, give you a broader perspective, provide you with a better way to approach a circumstance better the next time, or to better position you to be able to accomplish the goal you're endeavoring to do. But instead, these people tend to berate you and belittle you instead of them encouraging you and supporting you while you are becoming. They generally opt to bash your efforts. They will insult your intentions and impose upon you their feelings of how inadequate they think you are to be daring enough to endeavor to do something of this magnitude or on this grand scale. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that whenever you find yourself in a place where somebody is always really critical of you, I don't mean they are critiquing you constructively. I mean they are really critical. You could have done 99 things right, and they're going to find that one thing that you did wrong. Yeah, that was good, but you didn't do this. Oh, you look great, but maybe you need to work on this. And so you have the wrong people around you, and you have the wrong company, you're in the wrong sect of people. Whenever they become very critical of what you do, what you are becoming, what you are attempting to do, at that juncture, you have to learn how to disconnect yourself from people that are never going to contribute to the outcome that you desire. But now, on the other hand, there are some connections in all of our lives that are necessary, and they cultivate the right kind of environment that welcomes your growth, that supports your evolution, that supports your need for more, that supports your desire to have more out of life. Those are the kind of connections that you have to keep in place in your life. Now, I tell people all the time, if you are going to be connected to me, the criteria is that you have to be a contributor and not just a consumer, right? It has to be mutually beneficial for both parties, or however big your group is or your circle is. In other words, it's not that you're going to be in any kind of relationship or connection and people are not going to consume. There's no problem with that. The problem is when they're doing a lot of consuming but no contributing. There's no reciprocation in the process of the relationship. And whenever any relationships fails to be reciprocal, it fails to be vital, it fails to be fruitful, it fails to be a long-term successful relationship. So one of the things that you must understand that I teach people all of the time is that if you're going to get to your place of destiny, if you're going to get to your place of fulfillment in life, surround yourself with people, watch this, who have surpassed you. Again, most people stunt their growth because they only surround themselves with people who have the same reality. They're in the same tax bracket. They make around the same amount of money. They live in the same kind of neighborhood. But, ladies and gentlemen, you can never grow beyond your level of exposure. And the more exposed you are to people who are doing more than you're doing, then it creates for you a target, an objective, and a goal for you to reach, for you to accomplish. So you have to surround yourself with people who have surpassed you. Why? Because it's visual validation that the reality you want already exists and someone is living it, and so can you. Oh, and let me say that to you again. I got to be around people who have surpassed me. I've got to be around people who have more than me. Because if I'm not, then it's not, nobody stimulating me. You're not challenging me to be more. So I have to be around people who have surpassed me because it's visual validation that the reality I want exists and somebody else is already living it, and so can I. Right? And so I want to say to you that the more you become diligent about positioning the right people in your life, the people who have the kind of spirit, the kind of integrity, the kind of influence, the kind of impartation that you need to have in your life, once you assemble those people around you, you're going to see your life and the trajectory of it shift drastically for the better. Hear this. Don't let people occupy space in your life who don't put you in a better headspace. Now that's perhaps more critical than you realize. Stop allowing people to occupy spaces in your life who don't put you in the right headspace. You have people around you who are not good for you. They're not healthy to have around for your spirit. They're not speaking life. They're speaking doubt. They are, in fact, in most instances, the prime source of distractions in your life, right? Because they're never on the same page with you. They get frustrated when you start talking futuristically. They seem to get an attitude with you because you want to live at a different altitude. And they're putting you in a bad headspace. Their negativity, their conjecture about what's not going to work. And I don't believe this is for you. I don't think it's your season. Well, sometimes you have to be willing to be alone than to be bullied by people mentally who have no vision, who have no dream, who have no desires or aspirations for themselves. And so you had better begin to survey your life and the people who are influential into your hearing, people you talk to every day or a few times a week, people you're eating lunch with. You even have to be selective about who you're eating lunch with. That's how serious it is. Because your life is going to look like the people you spend the most time with. I'm going to let that sink in for a moment. Your life generally looks like the people you perhaps spend the most time with. And so if you want your life to look differently, then you have to do some personnel shifting perhaps. And you have to bring people around you, embrace people. Don't be intimidated by them. That's probably the greatest deterrent to you going to the next level, is because you're too intimidated by the people or the persons that you should be embracing, that you should be gleaning from, that you should be getting them to teach you how to do this, how to operate in this dynamic of life or whatever it is that I am called to do. And so you got to stop letting people occupy space who don't put you in a better headspace. I've got to leave you feeling like I'm Superman. Because why? I've been infused by your enthusiasm. I've been I've been infused by your positivity. I've been infused by your forecasting of what you believe I could be, I can do, I can become. And that's going to make a world of difference in your life. Instead of being around people who are so jealous, so envious, they downplay everything. They shun all of your ideas. They generally think there's nothing much to you. But the reality of the matter is, you got to stop letting people occupy space who are not putting you in a better headspace. The next thing I want to tell you, and I really want you to get this, don't let people consume your time who are not a source of logic, peace, clarity, and wisdom. Let me give you that again. Don't let people consume your time who are not a source of logic, peace, clarity, and wisdom. I have no room on my calendar for anybody who's not a source of logic. Someone, because you need somebody in your life so that you don't veer too far into a realm of just fantasizing, but they're there to show you how to take what you see, no matter how big it looks, no matter how lofty it is, and create for you an implementation and execution process. I know what you see is this, but this is what needs to be done in order to get there. Now, generally, we make the mistake of writing them off as faith killers. Oh, you don't see it and you don't believe it. Yeah, there are people who see it, but they have been ordained to show you how to systematically and logically move from point A to point B. And if you do this for about 3 months, then I want you to do this. Then I need you to understand and I need you to move in this direction. And then you're able to accomplish and wind up at the end result that you wanted, because you got to have somebody around you who is logical. You can't have my time if you can't help me logically think through my moves. I've got to have people around me who consume my time, who's a source of peace. Why? Because chaos is going to arise. Nobody who's dreaming like you're dreaming, believing for what you're believing for, is not going to have a head-on collision with some chaotic moments of your life. And you have to have people around you that's able to speak to you calmly, to keep you composed enough to get to the end result. The tragedy is that when we have people around us, the moment you get freaked out and paranoid, they're freaked out and paranoid, and nothing can get accomplished. But you need people in your life that's able to talk you off the ledge, that's able to talk you back to a realm where you understand that if you're endeavoring to do something this huge, it's gonna come with some conflict. Everybody's not going to be happy about what you're attempting to do, what you're trying to do, what your aim is, what your goal is, what your mission is. And so you can't let people consume your time who do not provide for you a source and a sense of peace. If it is, you cannot no longer afford to allow people to consume time in your life who do not provide a sense of clarity. Right? You have to have people around you who have such a depth of sight that it doesn't matter how distorted it looks at the moment. They have this laser-like focus that cannot be hindered or obstructed by barriers, by critics, by negative talkers, by people who are trying to get you to doubt yourself. Because if I can get you to doubt yourself, I can get you to doubt whatever it is you're believing, right? And so I've got to have people around me that provide for me, that are a source and provide for me a sense of clarity. See, I know it looks cloudy right now, but we're going to get through this. We're going to push through this, and we are ultimately going to get to the place that you want to be. And so when you're trying to determine who are the people I need to have in my life, then you have to live by the criteria that I'm not going to let people consume my time who are not a source of, number one, logic, number two, peace, number three, clarity, number four, wisdom. Right? I've got to have some wise people around me. Watch this. I've got to have people around me who are wiser than me. Otherwise, I start challenging everything they say because I think I know what you know and you think you know what I know. And then that becomes frustrated. And instead of progressing, we begin to digress. But I've got to have people around me who have wisdom. Now, it's one thing to have people around you who have wisdom, but you have to receive it and apply it, or it's if you never heard it. I'll let that sink in for a moment. It's not enough. I mean, it's a tragic waste of time to have wise people around you and you let them pour into you and tell you what needs to be done or what they think the course of action should be, and then you ignore it or discount it or call or maybe consider it to be irrelevant. But what you must understand is that you gotta have people with wisdom around you who are wiser than you, who've seen more than you, who've gone more places than you have gone, who's had more money than you, right? And because if you don't have people that's a source of wisdom close in your company, the frustration of what you're trying to do sometimes can make you a little disoriented. And when you're disoriented, your guards are down, and sometimes you'll make popcorn decisions and you'll make judgments that set you back so far unnecessarily because you didn't yield to the wisdom and you didn't seek counsel and that you didn't seek guidance from people who know more than you, right? So, which means that I have to get all of the unwise people from around me. That's not benefiting me. And it's certainly not going to bring me to the next level of success where I want to be. And then finally, you have to surround yourself with people where every encounter you have with them is an education. Your mind is expanded, your vision is enlarged, and your level of expectation is elevated. Now that's powerful, right? So that's your checklist right there, right? Just start gauging your interactions you have with people who are in intimate spaces with you, friendships, partners, business partners, people who are you sit down and eat with. And I want you to notice if you are gaining something from the interaction, right? I tell people all the time that if we get together and you don't know more after we meet than you did before, you should feel like you were cheated, right? Again, it comes down to the fact I don't just eat with everybody. You'll never see me just out with just anybody. Believe me, if I'm with them, they know something I don't know, and I'm trying to glean it, or I have something they don't know, and they're trying to glean it from me. They're trying to get that transfer so that they can increase in their wisdom and their understanding and their knowledge. But I have to be around people. There's some people I look forward to sitting down with. You know why? Because I know it's going to be education. I don't just sit down for entertainment. I'm sitting down for education. And perhaps that could be the problem as well, because you feel like you got to be entertained, and every gathering you get together, you're just going through the motions of entertainment. But for most of us, we've been entertained enough. And I'm not saying nothing's wrong with entertainment, and that's a place for that. You got to have that kind of release in your life. But the reality of the matter is, you got to be around somebody that challenges you, right? I like being around people, some that when I leave them, I feel dumb. Like, wow, I didn't know that. I got to be around people that when I leave them, I leave in awe of them. I leave in awe of their educational prowess, their mental capacity. Because I like hearing how people think, right? I like listening for the train of thought and how they are dissecting this and coming up with certain solutions. I've got to be around somebody who stimulates me to be better. And sometimes we can't get that education because when we sit down with those kind of people, we're doing so much talking. And I know in my case that if I'm with someone and they brought me to get insight or intelligence about a certain matter, and then every time I'm talking, they keep talking, I generally shut down. And now I'm more interested in eating my meal than talking to you because I've now detected that you're not operating in wisdom, that you don't know what you have before you. If you shut up long enough, you can get what you've been needing to help fix some things that have been gone so wrong for the last few months or years. But you got to be around people who provide for you in education. What does that mean? When you leave them, your mind is expanded. You get back in the car, you don't even turn on the radio. You just keep replaying what they're saying over and over and over again in your head because it's so refreshing. It's so revolutionary, right? It was so transformative that it caused my mind to expand. Not only did they cause my mind to expand, but they educated me in such a way that my vision became enlarged, right? Because again, you can't go grow beyond your level of exposure. I didn't see before I had this conversation with them. Now that I had that conversation, it's caused my vision to be enlarged. You don't know how much of a blessing it is. I tell people all the time, one of the greatest gifts anybody can give you is a bigger perspective. Not nothing in a Tiffany's box, nothing from Saks. It's a broader perspective that I leave the conversation, I get back in my car, and I almost get mad at myself because I wasn't seeing it on that large of a scale. But there are some things you'll never come into until you run into the right people who are living out that reality, who are not just talking hearsay, but they're actually living in that kind of lifestyle that they're talking about, and it causes your vision to be enlarged, and then it causes the level of your expectation to be elevated, right? So when I leave, if I'm with the right person, when I leave them, I can't wait to get back to the office or get back to the house and start sketching out the ideas, or reconfiguring. Whereas I was believing for a 5,000 square foot house, now I'm believing for an 8,000 square foot house. All because the right individual was able to incite an elevated expectation within me. But you can only get that when you're with the right person, and you're connected to the right individuals. That's going to make the world of difference in your life. So please hear me. I want you to go through the inventory of your personal personnel, friends, confidants, even family. Figure out, what are they contributing? Or are you just doing more consuming than contributing? And begin to figure out if they're being counterproductive to my goals, my dreams, my vision, my life pursuits. You have to find out, is this a calculated connection? The kind of connection that's going to try to manipulate me, distract me, cause me to miss my marks and my goals that I have predetermined and set for my life? Or am I surrounded by people who've been just so really critical of me that now I'm at the point where I have to break those connections in order to get to a place where I am having a healthy perspective and a healthy perception of myself in order to reach the desired goals I have. Well, I'm out of time for this session. Listen, I want you to be able to go back. I want you to hear this at least 2 or 3 times. There's so much more I could say, but I want you to be able to digest this first installment first, because it's going to be so vital. This is your blueprint for getting back into a place of healthy connection, healthy environments where people are supported, where they are nurturing, where they are willing to guide and teach you and lead you, so that you are the best version of yourself you could possibly be. All right, don't forget to share this. I'm going to ask you to please do me a favor, share this with as many people as you can. Tell 3, 4, 5 of your friends or relatives, subscribe to this channel. I would very, very much Appreciate that. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. Don't forget to go to henrybolden.com, go to my website. You can leave comments, you can ask questions, you can go to the bookstore, you can get product, you can do a whole lot of things there. And I just want you to know that I am excited about your future, right? I believe it's going to be phenomenal. All right. Well, I am out of time for this session, but always remember, as I always say in parting, that things can change for you at any moment. I'll see you next time.